Hello everybody and welcome to another Midnight Madness video with Carolyn. Yeah, I can't fall asleep yet. There's no way. I've got too many things on my mind and I've been sick, so now my sleep is a little wacky. And as you can see, I am on AncestryDNA and I'm here for a reason. I want to show you something real quick. Ancestry is putting a new policy into place. It is not a policy that I am happy about or agree with. Some people think it's great, and I understand why they think it's great. But I know a lot of people, anecdotally, who have very good reason to see loss coming with this policy. So if you haven't been reading about it, here's the deal. Coming soon, AncestryDNA, and I'm talking like in the first couple weeks of August, so we all have to get on this. AncestryDNA will be cutting all matches below 8 centimorgans. That means that if you share less than 8 centimorgans worth of DNA with a match now, that match is going to disappear from your list. Now, for some people, probably like me, because I have probably a couple thousand matches, that's maybe not going to matter so much. I'm not really sure. And there are people out there who say it's not going to matter at all. And that's fine, except that I know a lot of people for whom these very small matches, like 6 centimorgans and 7 centimorgans, have helped them to make the connection with an enslaving family that they're descended from. And if that possibility exists for anyone, then I really don't want them to lose the data. So there is something that AncestryDNA is building in here, and that is that you can mark all of the DNA matches you want to keep with the colored dot system. And when you do that, you will save the matches. There are a couple of other ways too. You can mark that match with a note. It takes a little bit longer than just ticking on a color dot, but you can do that. And the third way that is longer yet is you can send a message to a person. And the message can be something as simple as Ancestry is about to change their algorithm. They're cutting all DNA matches below 8 centimorgans. You and I match at 7 or 6 or whatever. So let's stay in touch. Sounds good to me, right? Sounds pretty reasonable. So I want to show you how to do this. And I want to show you the shortest way possible of doing this. So I'm putting on my glasses in hopes of being able to read my phone as I tell you this. So I'm on the main DNA results page for myself, okay? And so as I scroll down, here are my DNA matches. So I'm going to my DNA matches, and I can sort them with a filter. And you see how it works. The people with whom I am most closely related, there's my dad, 3,465 centimorgans. So you see that large amounts of centimorgans mean you are closely related to that person. There is my sister, there is my uncle, another uncle who is listed as a first cousin, but that's because he's my dad's half-brother. Then I've got some second cousins and third cousins and so forth. Okay, so here's the deal. In order for me to get to the bottom and to get to the 6 and 7 centimorgans that I want to keep, and even the 8s that I want to mark to keep, just in case that 8 is inclusive in what they cut, I would have to go like this really a lot. And look at that, 2 swipes and I'm at 37. You know how many fourth cousins I have? It's berserk how many fourth cousins I have. So isn't this annoying? We're only down to 32 centimorgans. I'm trying to get to 6 and 7, y'all. That's not going to happen. So there's an easier way to do it. Scrolling up to the top, and we go over to filters over on the left. Now, this is on my phone, on my Android. It's going to look a little bit different on your laptop, your PC, your Apple phone or iPhone or whatever the heck those things are, or on a tablet maybe. But regardless, you're looking for the little square that says filters. So I'm tapping on filters. Okay, I'm tapping repeatedly on filters. There we go. It finally comes up. And this is the menu that I get. I can just look at the matches that I haven't viewed yet. Well, that doesn't really matter because it's not a question of viewed or unviewed. It's a question of size. And I'm looking for the 6 to 8 centimorgan matches. Common ancestors. Again, doesn't really matter whether we have ancestors in common or not that are marked with green leaves. It would be nice if all of them were. And there was some clear way for me to understand things just immediately, who these various cousins are. But that's not how it works, and that's not what I'm looking for. So I'm going to blow that off. People I've messaged. I haven't messaged very many people, and some people have messaged me, but that's not really a big deal in the way that I use DNA. So that doesn't apply because, again, we're looking for a 6 to 8 centimorgan match. And the folks that I've left notes on, same deal, doesn't matter. People who have trees, doesn't matter. And then I'll skip to the bottom. People who are already in groups, doesn't matter. So here's what I'm doing. These are going to be unmarked for the largest part because I have marked some of them. But these are people with whom I'm concerned about finding an amount of, you guessed it, shared DNA. So I'm going to tap on that down caret to the right and open this up. And so here are my options. All my matches, 108, I thought I had like 2,000, 108,664 matches. This is what happens when you're white and your people have been living on this continent for as long as white people have been living on this continent. I could just say in the 20 to 3490 shared centimorgans, which is the close matches. Then there's the distant matches, 6 to 20. But here's the thing. I don't want to go up to 20. I only want to go up to 8. So here's what we're going to do. The last one, custom centimorgan range. I'm going to tap on that. The minimum has to be 6. So I'm going to tap and add a 6. Whoops. There we go. And then the maximum I'm going to add, just to be safe, I'm going to add 9. I did this once before and I found it this way, so that's what I was doing, and that's why those numbers were ready for me to enter. So, okay, now I'm going to hit apply. So now what I've got is a list of people who are starting with the closely related 9 centimorgans, moving away to the 8 and then the 7 and the 6. And I've got all but one of my color dots assigned to surnames, either a single surname or a married couple, because I have some brick walls fairly close in, and so I needed to have these couples represented by one dot. So what I've done is I've created a new dot with my very last color dot. The very light blue is now called unknown in all capitals. And so what I'm doing is I'm simply going one by one, and when you hit the plus sign, it pulls up your list of colored dots. And you can see all the surnames that I have represented here. They're in alphabetical order. And I've ticked unknown for this person. And then I simply tap above this list on the screen in order to get rid of it. So what I'm doing is I'm going down to the next person I haven't marked yet. And I'm simply tapping on add, sliding to unknown, tapping on unknown, and then tapping outside of this list of colored dots up by the match. See, I'm tapping right next to where the dot went. And I'm doing it again. And I'm just going to continue to do this while watching television so that I don't have to pay any attention to anything probably. And I'm going to make sure that they all get marked. Now, another way you can mark them is just to mark them with the star, although that star indicates something important. And I'm not sure what the deal is with why I marked this gentleman with a star. Perhaps in his tree, a name came up that looks familiar to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that he has a tree at all, considering I think we all know how rare that is. Kind of bothers me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this until I'm done, or I go blind or crazy from the process, whichever comes first. I'm going to mark all of the matches, in the very low range here, between 9 and 6 centimorgans. And by just the simple act of marking them with an identifying color dot, I'm going to retain them on my list. Ancestry isn't going to dump them, because Ancestry will dump all of the matches that aren't marked and that are maybe at or maybe just below 8 centimorgans. Now, if you're not happy about this policy, if you feel that this might threaten your work and you have, reason to believe that, as a lot of people I've talked with recently do believe, if you have used low centimorgan matches to establish absolutely documented and verified relationships with people, if they have in some way, these matches, answered questions for you, then you need to let Ancestry know that this is not cool. Because here's the deal. Maybe the science is right and I just don't know enough. I am absolutely willing to admit that. I think I've said before that I went to law school so that I would never have to use mathematics again. I am not a scientist. But there's so much anecdotal evidence out there from people I've talked to who say that these low centimorgan matches have been useful to them, that I really want everybody to be able to retain all the data they can possibly use. And what you can do about that is you can let Ancestry know that this displeases you. And one thing that's really important about this is it seems like this decision was made awfully quickly. And another point is that on June 3rd, the CEO of Ancestry released a policy kind of, it wasn't really policy, but it was more of a kind of a statement. And in it he said, we support Black Lives Matter and we support diversity in hiring and we are trying to improve. And then just a few weeks later, they announce a policy that is obviously going to negatively impact at least some people of color who are doing research and trying to, I don't know what the heck I just tapped, and trying to find, these remote ties. And if they had somebody deciding policy, sorry, I cut myself out of that little loop there. I'm back. If they had some people of diversity, people of color, if they had consulted with genealogists from various other traditions and various other ethnicities, I think that they would have gotten some kickback, from this. I think they would have gotten some kick, and I think that some people, would have said, this is not such a good idea. This is going to be harmful to the group of people that I've worked with primarily, whoever those people are. I don't know. And I admit that. But I don't want you to lose your matches. So mark your matches. And if you're mad, like I'm kind of annoyed about this and the fact that they're making a change, a big change, with 2 weeks notice, very little notice. And this change with very little notice was created by a bunch of white people sitting in an office in, Europe somewhere. Seems to me that's where the decisions are being made. Then, let them know that you're not happy about it. And that would be a great thing that you could do not only for yourself, but for other researchers as well. Now, some people have gotten snotty with me on Twitter about this and told me that I don't know what I'm talking about. And again, I'm willing to admit that I quite possibly don't. But that doesn't mean that we all shouldn't take the advice of Ancestry itself and preserve our matches by marking them all somehow. So maybe you want to make a color dot that says unknown, and you want to go through this silly process that I'm doing right here of saving every single, I'm still on the 9 centimorgans, you guys. I don't even know how long this is going to take. This is crazy. Look at this. This is nuts. This is just the 9s. I need to go down to the 7s and 6s and go from there. Oh my gosh. Anyway, this is really important to do. So please take care of yourself in terms of what you've paid for, you know, and retain all of the data that you can, because you can never tell when old matches or old communications are going to come in handy. There's absolutely no saying. So please preserve all that you can and do this. See, I'm still in the 9 centimorgans. This is berserk. This is what happens when you're as wide as I am. Please take care of yourself and what you're paying for in Ancestry, and mark things accordingly. And that's all I've got for you, but it was something that I wanted to get out of my head before I went to sleep. So have a good night or a good day or whatever, wherever you are, and I will talk to you soon.